Hello there, welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, in a very hot, busy Ibiza.
And me, Richie Pryor, in Mallorca. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. Very hot. I'm hiding away in the aircon as we speak, Rich. It's that time of the year, isn't it?
It is aircon on full blast at the minute, Mark. Wow, word. Temperatures set to tip 40 degrees, I'm hearing, by the end of this week.
Really, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Rich. It's really, it's the temperature gauge is going up and up all the time, and I'm not just talking about in the sky. I'm talking about on the streets as well, Rich. Just getting,
nice
little link that was, wasn't
thinking about that all day, didn't you?
No, it comes naturally, Rich. You know,
of course it does. Yes, yeah.
Listen and learn, my friend. Listen and learn. No, it's getting busy out there, Rich. I mean, Ibiza. I've got friends over from Australia at the moment, so I've been out and about, and it's seriously busy, Rich. Seriously busy, which is good. We need it to be, don't we?
Definitely. Yeah. Listen, this is the months that you make the hay, Mark.
That's it, buddy.
You know what I mean, if you don't make hay in July and August, then there's a problem somewhere along the line. So,
well, if you think about it, Rich, and this is always an analogy I use, it starts to go quiet after about the 20th of August, doesn't it? Really, or quieter, should I say?
Yeah.
So really, we've got 6 weeks of busyness ahead of us, and then we're on the downward spiral, aren't we? So bring it on, mate. Bring it on. How are you, Matt? How's Mallorca?
Mallorca, the same, Mark. It's cracking on, busy, and I'm very busy. I have to say, and which is good. Can't complain about that. And looking forward to September.
Rich, when you're a concierge, mate, you are always busy. You know that, don't you? So,
it's I do say to people sometimes it could be feast or famine, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, what you only eat what you kill, Rich, don't you? So
exactly.
I've been self-employed myself for over 32 years now, I think 33 years. So it's ebbs and flows, peaks and troughs, Rich. That's what I'll say. But
very good.
As you said there, mate, you've got to be busy this time of year, otherwise it's going to be a very long winter, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is Talking Balearics with myself, Martin, Ibiza, Richie over there in Mallorca, just across the Balearic Sea. Thanks for all your feedback and comments as always. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Richie, what do you have for me this week, pal?
I've got news of EasyJet, actually. Interesting news from EasyJet for you.
You love an airline story, don't you?
I'm because I'm more of a fan of EasyJet than Ryanair, and I know you're the opposite to me. So let's put it out there, a bit of EasyJet news. I've got a surprising news of a broadsheet talking about Magaluf.
Okay.
Which you're probably never going to say
that again. Very often, do you?
No, you don't. I wanted to talk about, I had a very busy weekend, and just talking about Mallorca in general and, where it's gone to and where it's obviously going to. So I'll tell you all about that. Also, I think we should touch on England, Mark. I know it's not really talking about Balearics, but I think we just have to quickly give that a bit of a chat, because that was, in my opinion, one of the greatest games of football I've seen in a very, very long time.
It was a nail biter, wasn't it, Rich? I mean, it wouldn't be a Richie Pryor podcast without football, mate.
But I can relate it back to the Balearics for you, because I've actually blogged about it this week. Actually, funny enough, and a tiny little bit around Mallorca news as always at the end.
Fantastic, Rich. Look forward to that. I've got Taxi Wars, Ibiza Taxi Wars. I blogged about it this week.
Cabbies,
I know.
Here they go.
Yeah, I mean, it's and then something happened to me on Saturday night, which has tipped me over the edge, Rich. It's tipped me over the edge.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about that. We're in peak season, as we mentioned before. Just talk about illegal holiday rentals and what Ibiza is doing, and now the Balearic government are really holding up Ibiza. I think a lot of other places in Spain will do as well. It will be the Ibiza model that they're adopting. So I want to talk about that. Also, remember, Richard, we talked about Jean-Michel Jarre, Amnesia. That was last week. I said I was going to go. Obviously, I didn't, because I had other things to do. I think it might have even clashed with the football. So, but I want to go into that because the feedback has been quite interesting. And last but by no means least, the return of an Ibiza legend, which is very apt for our age group. So if you're in Ibiza in the 90s and the noughties, then you will know exactly what my last segment's going to be. So the return of an icon, an Ibiza icon. So first of all, Rich, please kick off for me.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're aware of this, Mark, but EasyJet has had a bid for them to be taken over by a US investment firm called Castle Lake. £7 billion or dollars, $7 billion, interestingly enough. And I'm just interested to know, what will happen to EasyJet? Will it sort of just carry on as it is, or will it, diverse in other directions? I don't know. 38 countries, 164 airports with a fleet of 355 aircraft, no less. So, are we seeing possibly EasyJet going long haul? I don't know. I mean, EasyJet have obviously, were a no-frills airline for a long, long time, then diversed into holidays. Will they now diverse with this takeover into possibly, a long haul destination, whether it be an airline or a holidays? I imagine probably more down the holiday route, because I don't know if you're aware, and I got this information from Steve Endicott, who I know you and I both know and respect in the travel industry, that EasyJet actually make a lot more money out of holidays than they do off of just flights. I think it's on a flight, they make roughly about £8 on a return flight, and it's about £81 on a holiday. So that there is a lot more margin there. Obviously, if you start to go long haul, obviously the costs are going to be greater, as we know. Fuel costs especially are going to be greater. But I'm just interested to know whether EasyJet will go down that route.
Well, the business model that they have is a short haul operation. Both EasyJet was the first to the market. Well, actually, if you remember, Rich, it was a company called Debonair. Okay.
Oh yeah, I do.
That was a long time ago, probably about early 90s. There was also one called Excalibur, and they did the low cost. And there was another one, I can't remember what it was called, but basically out of that came EasyJet and then Ryanair. Well, their business model is specifically short haul because it's the quick turnaround, it's the flight prices, it's the load factors. So I'm not suspecting that EasyJet will go long haul, Rich, but I think if it's an American company buying it, which it will get Americanized even more, and they'll look for margin. Now, the interesting thing about the holidays, as you said, they make a lot more money, but they've always rejected it, or resisted it, should I say, EasyJet and Ryanair, because they've always said, listen, it's bums on seats for us, it's flights, we make our margin, we'll let everyone else worry about that. However, Jet2's changed the game because they make so much money on holidays, Jet2 are, everyone's looking around going, hold on a minute. Back in the old days, when you were a package holiday company, the problem was flight seats. Okay, you could always get the hotel rooms and the resort, but you couldn't get the flight seats. So if you're a company that's already got the flight seats, it's only usual or normal.
Logical,
logical. Yeah, good word, Rich. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, mate. Okay, thank you.
I'll help you when you get.
Yeah, please do. Please do. It's only logical that you vertically integrate your company, and you go, well, actually, we can sell holidays, we can sell car hire, we can sell in-resort excursions, we can sell whatever. So I'm expecting EasyJet holidays to be expanded. And also, here's this, Rich. I'm expecting Ryanair holidays not too far around the corner as well.
You're not wrong, Mark. That's definitely going to happen.
Because it's going to happen because everyone's looking to make money. And if they've got it, and it's actually quite a straightforward
to be honest with you, though, Mark,
analogy.
They are actually doing it. If you know that Love Holidays,
we're on the beach, aren't they?
And on the beach, are actually using Ryanair's, flight program anyway. So it's there. It's there already. Not in name, but it is there.
Yeah,
the truth be known. So it's coming.
Yeah. And also, what will happen, Rich, is that Ryanair will probably take over on the beach, or they'll probably take over a third party and integrate it as well. So,
yeah, I agree.
Do you know, Rich, for us in the Balearics, it's great news.
Not a bad thing. No,
it's great news because Jet2 are the ones that are really, putting bums on seats. They're the old air tours and can you remember Sunset Holidays, Rich? Back in the day?
I do. Flying colours.
Flying colours, yeah, exactly. JMC.
We can reminisce.
We went to JMC, and I mean, you've got them all, but really,
can I tell you a true story about JMC? Actually, very quick.
Please do. Go on.
I don't know if you know what JMC stood for. Did you?
What? John Mason Cook.
John Mason Cook. Very good. Like what you did there. But if you can remember that they brought out a uniform. They look like a Gap employee. I don't know if you can remember. It was like a creamy and green,
wasn't it? Yeah, creamy and green, wasn't it? Yeah.
I seem to remember.
Yeah.
They spent £5 million on promoting that. This was the new thing. JMC. This is the new thing, and everything else. And if you can remember. A few years later, it just went completely bust. It just got rid of it altogether. So wasn't.
The thing is, with the interesting of the evolution of the tour operators, once the flight only operators came in, it's actually ironic, Rich, because they went out of business because EasyJet and Ryanair came into business, and people started dynamic packaging.
Yeah.
What are Ryanair and EasyJet doing? They're now going back to where they were in the first place. So, but they've got a position of power, Rich, because they've got the flight seats. They Rich, when people come, so for instance, when the tour operators come over, how do they get from the airport to the hotels, and how do they get from the hotels to restaurants? They take taxis, don't they? Now,
Well, if they can.
Yeah, well, there you go, mate. Now, I don't want this to be a Marty moan or a Richie rant, but I've always detested the taxi service in Ibiza because I just think it's not fit for purpose, Rich, because it's basically fueled by greed and jealousy. Nobody really cares about the clients, which, let's face it, Rich, on an island like Ibiza, on an island like Mallorca, the main commodity that we have is tourism, yeah? Or tourists, should I say, is a commodity. Tourism is actually the business that we have. And once you start disrespecting those tourists, then you're in trouble because it will come back to bite on the bum. Now, I blogged about it last week. There was a issue in the airport where the situation we have over here, which I presume is exactly the same in Mallorca, is each municipality decides on the licenses and on the rules of that municipality for the taxis. Now, San Jose, which is where the airport is on the island, put a sign up in the airport saying only San Jose taxis can pick up at the airport, yeah? Or words to that effect. So what happened is everyone else went, hold on a minute, this isn't part of the plan, because we did have an agreement a few years ago. So the taxi drivers threatened to go on strike, which is nice for the first week of July, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Fantastic, So 48 hours later, it was resolved like I thought it would do, because once the strike there. So that got me annoyed straight away. And then on Saturday night, let me tell you this little story, Rich. I won't go on too long, but I've got some friends over from Australia, and there were 6 of us going out on Saturday. So I could get 3 in my car, and we had to get a taxi because my other friend's car had a problem with it. So we said, we'll just get a taxi. So we waited for 40 minutes for a taxi, Rich. 40 minutes, which unfortunately is the way it goes. Taxi pulls up. We tell them where we're going, which is about 2 miles away, which is a bit too far to walk. And, the girls have got...
And he drove off, don't tell me.
He drove straight off, Rich.
Brilliant.
Shook his head. Not for me, thank you, and drove off.
Brilliant.
Then something really strange then happened, Rich. Then another car drove up, which is obviously a pirate taxi. And he was like, sir, are you waiting for somebody? And he couldn't have been more politer. He was nice and turned out the car was an electric car, brand new car. And we said, yes, listen, we've got this. He said, of course, sir, get into the taxi. Drove my friends to the restaurant, which was a couple of miles away. Charged a little bit more money than a taxi did, but he was very polite. And, there we go. So we're in this alternate reality, Rich, where pirate taxis are offering a better service and are more polite than the actual taxi service. And I just think it's complete madness that they've really just... The Balearic government and the different municipalities have created this ecosystem where it's just greed, Rich. Pure greed by taxi drivers. If it doesn't suit me, we're not picking you up. And I think something's got to give. You know what I would do, Rich? I would rip up the whole rule book, one island, one rule for all taxis, and this is your rules. And by the way, here's a hotline. If you get upset by a taxi driver, take the number down, report the issue, report it, and we take their licenses away, because that's the only way we're going to solve the issue. Because at the moment, as I said before, it's a bit of a Marty mode. They are not fit for purpose. Simple as.
Well, I think I'm right in saying, Martin, in Barcelona, obviously they've got Uber in Barcelona. We've got Uber over here, actually. And then a lot of the taxi drivers are up in arms about allowing Uber into the workplace, as it were, because it's competition, of course, and they don't like competition. But interestingly enough, I think this is true, and you can quote me if I'm wrong, that quite a lot of the taxi drivers who work in Barcelona, when they finish their shift, swap themselves over to become an Uber driver, and then are using Uber as a service themselves to pick up people. Yeah. It's utter madness. Do you know what I mean? It really is.
But there doesn't seem to be. It's lawless, Rich. This is a thing, and because the licenses are so hard to come by,
and so expensive to come by, so
expensive. There's several €100,000 the licenses are as well. But the irony of it is, Rich, that I've got a friend over here who's an Uber driver, and he takes a lot of people on Uber, and he says that the feedback from the Uber clients is they're happy to pay more, because don't forget, in the Balearics, Uber costs more money, because it's a private driver service as opposed to a public taxi service. So in many ways, Uber can cost you twice as much as a white taxi with the green light on. But he said that people are happy to pay because they're just so sick to death of the white taxi with green lights on, and also they feel safer because everything's logged. They know they've got all the details of the registration number. They've got the details of the driver. They know who it is. So somebody's got to give, Rich. I mean, I think Cabify will be next on the island. Uber's opened the door, and they've just got to have a complete rethink because, as I said before, taxi service in Ibiza, horrendous. Anyway, end of Martin Moan there. Come on, get on a better subject, Rich, because my blood is boiling.
Well, last week I talked about if you were putting the Balearic Symphony Orchestra on Magaluf Beach 10 years ago, you'd have been laughed out of town. Well, interestingly enough, the Daily Telegraph, or the Telegraph as it's known, has done a report on Magaluf and says the Mallorca resort is turning its back on hedonism as it seeks to attract a different type of customer. Basically, the Telegraph has done a full report. I think they basically copied my blog from a couple of weeks ago, to be perfectly honest.
Rich. I hope they gave you a credit, mate.
Did they heck? Did they heck? They say more than 60% of Magaluf's hotels are now rated 4 or 5 stars. It's not. It's nearly 80%, to be perfectly honest. They talk about the police complaint numbers down 30%. I talked about that last week. It's just basically my thing, just rehashed, I think. But anyway, whatever it is, to have the Daily Telegraph actually reporting on Magaluf in a positive way, I think that's great. And as I say, once again, 10 years ago, you'd be laughed out of town. To have the Daily Telegraph actually feature you. Do you know what I mean? I'm waiting to get a phone call from probably one like the Times Radio. Although I did do a thing on the Times Radio about a year ago. I think it was.
I mean, Rich, you should be the talking head. You know, when they get the talking head on, the local expert, it's got to be Richie Pryor from Talking Balearics, hasn't it? It's got to be.
Well, yeah. Listen, I mean, there's not too much about Magaluf that I don't know, if the truth be known. And funny enough, we're going to talk about it in a minute, actually, about the football and everything else, and how football sort of evoluted, if that's the right word, from
evolved,
where we were.
I think is the word you're looking for, Rich.
Oh, I much prefer evoluted.
Well, I mean, you've been using Revolut card too much, but I mean, you can have logical, and I'll take evolve if that's okay.
Well, how much has evolved from when I first came here in 1990? Until today, because it has changed, and I hadn't really realised myself until I actually started writing it down and going through all the different World Cups that I've been through since 1990, and to where we come to today. So we'll talk about that in a sec. Sorry, I diverse. What else you got?
Yeah, so quick one about obviously peak season. The Ibiza government, as you know, and the Balearic government at whole, they have a bit of a war on illegal rentals, touristic rentals within apartment buildings. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you've got an apartment that you own and you rent it to friends and family or whatever, or not rent it or allow people to stay there. That's one thing. But if you are advertising it on Airbnb or holiday rentals or something like that, you must be stupid, because you've got to be. And listen, I had a client that got done a couple of years ago, got a €40,000 fine. You know, they are absolutely clamping down. And what they've said now, the Balearic government has said that basically Ibiza's approach to tackling holiday rentals will now become the model for the rest of the islands. So the coordinated work between the local police, the inspectors, and the Conseil, which is the island governments, has been held up as the best practice. And the government are now introducing tougher measures. Now, listen to this, Rich. What they've said is there's going to be a €5,000 per day fine. Per day. Okay, fine. They really are cracking down. Now, to be honest with you, Rich, I'm not sure if it will solve the problems, but at the end of the day, it will stop. It's just too risky now. But on the flip side of it, Rich, if you rent your accommodation long term and people don't pay, you have to evict them, and they get a 5-year contract. It's a nightmare. So if you are a homeowner or a landlord, should I say now, that you really are stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you can't rent it short term and you're scared to rent it long term. So my advice to you is, I'm in the property business, and I know you are now, Rich, is stick to people that you know, do your references, make sure that you've got confidence that those people will pay. Also, don't take the highest bid. Take the one that's most likely to pay. So if you've got an apartment, you're charging, I don't know, $1,500 a month or something like that, and someone comes in and says, "I'll give you $3,000 a month," if it's too good to be true, it often is. So just be careful.
I mean, I live in a complex market that doesn't allow short-term rentals.
Yeah, so do I, Rich.
There are obviously people that do rent long-term. I get that. But short-term, we did have a few actually that were renting short-term, but that's all stopped now. Yeah. And I think quite a lot of communities are doing the same, to be perfectly honest. And I think we touched on this before, which it's really, really strange that Airbnb or any of these holiday letting outlets allow people to put a property on that actually is not licensed. I find that completely and utterly...
They're not doing it now, Rich. And
okay, so that's good.
That's the real clampdown, and I think it's because of what Ibiza has done. Now, when you put your property on, so all my villas, I have to put the rental license number on, and I now have to put a specific reference number that you get from the government for it as well. So they've really cracked down, Rich. And it's
that's good. That's good to hear.
It's really good because, as I said, it's not fair. I mean, the feedback used to have that I used to rent accommodation out, and basically you got 8 lads living in a block with a load of families. It's not it's not fair.
No, it doesn't work.
So it doesn't work, Rich. No, it doesn't work. So it's good news, and Ibiza is the pioneer.
I wanted to talk, Mark, about, obviously, we talked already today about how busy York and Ibiza are and everything else. And this weekend, or the weekend just gone, I was working on a wedding. A friend of mine has a wedding business. She asked me to help out on this particular wedding, and it was up in Deia, which is I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go, but one of the most beautiful. One of the most beautiful villages, town. I suppose you could call it a very small town
Branson put it on the map, didn't it, mate? Didn't you, mate?
Yeah, well, it was at his old hotel, actually. Yeah. That's where the wedding was held, basically, which is it's now called the Belmond La Residente. It was La Residente when Branson had it. A beautiful hotel right in the centre of town that overlooks, the mountains and everything else. And it was just nice to sort of, it was nice to be away from obviously all the humdrum of Palma and Magaluf, Palma and over, etc. Up in a village working. I mean, it was very, very hot, of course, but it was great to see people enjoying themselves, at an actual wedding itself. And then that was on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, they rented a restaurant called Caspatro March, which many people might remember from The Night Manager, for the afternoon on Sunday as well. And as I say, the wedding business now, I don't know what it's like in Ibiza, but it's huge business here in Mallorca.
Massive, Rich, massive.
And obviously that does bring people in. It's another arm of tourism, if the truth be known, John, because a lot of people will use it as an opportunity to take a break away from the UK and everything else, whether you're just coming for the weekend or you're extending your stay after the wedding. I think it's an important business to look at in the future, because as it's growing, and it's growing at a dramatic rate, because obviously we have some beautiful places where people can get married in, and Deia being probably one of the most popular now.
That wouldn't have been cheap, Rich.
I
know you've got to be a little bit could we say candid, but I mean
it wasn't cheap.
No, it wouldn't be cheap. No, I mean the wedding business in general, Rich. I mean, it's been evolving quite rapidly for the last maybe 25 years over here, and there's a couple of self-contained venues which have opened up, and they're literally doing several hundred weddings a year, Rich. This is 5-6 weddings a week in these self-contained venues. So it really is a market where if you get it right, it's very lucrative.
Yeah,
if you get it wrong, it's a nightmare.
Oh yeah. So, no. Obviously, it's somebody's big day, and they're going to spend a lot of money. They want it to be perfect. Do you know what I mean? So, touching wood and everything else, and I didn't need to touch wood because obviously I knew we'd get it right, and we did, which is great. So, I mean, the client was very happy.
When I had my concierge business back in the day, Ibiza Travel Shop, we went into weddings, Rich. We went into it big time, and we did the one wedding, and I pulled the whole program after that. We did one, and that was it, because it's very labor intensive.
Yeah, very.
You've got to get it right. You've got to charge it. Basically, I lost one of the girls out of the office for 2 weeks. And when I saw what it brought in, I was like, it's not really worth it. Maybe we should have persevered, but too stressful. Not for me, Rich, that. Too many bridezillas out there for my liking, Rich.
No, I mean, I only get involved in a certain part of
of course.
The actual
logistics, isn't it, Rich?
Logistics, it is logistics, yeah.
Now, Rich, I'm going to test you here. Remember when we did the last podcast about Jean-Michel Jarre, I tested you to see whether you could remember the song. Come on, this is your second chance to get the song right. Go on.
No, because I got it wrong last time. I'm going to get it wrong.
You can do it.
It's not that one that goes dun 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 dun.
That's the one, Rich. Perfect. That's the one. Got you there.
Well, synthesizer man, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, he is. And also, if you think about it, he's probably the first It was probably the first of the super DJs, the top line DJs, because all he did really was play electronic music, wasn't it? So on his synthesizer. So, but he did the 50th anniversary of Amnesia. As you know, Amnesia, probably the home of Balearic Beat. Very famous super club here in Ibiza, in San Rafael, in the middle of the island. It's turned 50 years old this year, which is amazing, really. They did a special concert with Jean-Michel Jarre last week, and by all accounts, it was absolutely incredible.
Oh, really?
Did a light show, he did live performance, visuals, and everyone who went just said it was truly, I mean, I think it was probably an older crowd, Rich, I would say. I don't think many of my son's age group would have been there. I think they probably went to the reggaeton night the day after or something like that. But it's easy to forget that Ibiza didn't become the world's dance capital by copying everyone else. And I think this is just another amazing gig in the it's a shame because it kind of gets lost. If it was on its own in the winter or something like that, it would be a one-off, wouldn't it? But to do it in the first week of July and you're up against all the other superstar DJs, it probably didn't get the coverage that it deserved, but by all accounts it was incredible. And basically bringing Jean-Michel Jarre over was just a great idea for an Amnesia. And the funny thing is about Amnesia, Rich, remember when we had Dwayne in, and we're going to get Dwayne in a few weeks' time as well to talk about the clubbing. Amnesia was the one that people thought would be struggling after
That's right.
Universe Open. However, I think it's gone the other way. I think Amnesia is really going up because it's now giving you the authentic clubbing experience. And to do something like this, which is something different, I think they've really scored big on this one as well. So, really good marks to Amnesia, and fantastic that Jean-Michel Jarre, I think he's in his 70s now, came over and did an amazing show.
Listen, we can't pass this podcast without talking about the England game on.
Mate, I've just calmed down from it, Rich, please.
Sunday into Monday morning.
Yeah,
I had a busy weekend. I was working Saturday and Sunday. So by the time I got home on Sunday, I was absolutely knackered. My wife said, "Are you going to stay up and watch it?" I said, "Well, I'll have a little snooze." Yeah, so I did drop off as always. And weirdly enough, and I don't know how it happened, but our dog happened to bark. At the time, the national anthems were being played. So I obviously woke up and realised that the game was on, and then obviously didn't realise what the time was. I didn't actually realise also that it actually had been delayed by an hour.
An hour, yeah.
And I only sort of caught on in the second half when I'm thinking, I've got to get up for the radio in a minute. I'm sure what I mean. But why has this time gone so late? And then my son texted me and said, the game was delayed by an hour. I've been asked by the Bulletin to do something on what we do in the summer, and I didn't want to sort of go on about I'd go down to the beach and I wanted to do something completely different. So I sort of focused on the fact of my 36 years here in Mallorca, of all the different World Cups that I've sort of been here for, do you know what I mean, over the course since 1990. And I distinctly remember 1990 because it was probably one of the best sort of World Cups we've had, up until the point of Gareth Southgate anyway. I don't know if you can remember, we got to the semi-finals, we lost to Germany on penalties, but my distinct memory was the David Platt last-minute goal against Belgium. Of course, yeah. I was in the Pink Elephant Bar on Punta Ballena, and I've never, ever seen such, the random scenes of celebration on the Punta Ballena that night. It was unbelievable. And then I fast forward 36 years, and I'm now lying in bed with the air conditioning on, watching England playing Mexico. And my sons are ringing me and video calling me from the Punta Ballena.
Punta Ballena, yeah, exactly.
It's showing me exactly what was going on, and they're loving, obviously watching England win against Mexico. It was probably one of the greatest games I think I've ever seen. I thought it was an unbelievable game.
It was incredible. Funny because I saw Jude's, your son's. I was following him on Instagram, and he was had his blue England shirt on in the middle of Punta Ballena, and
there he was.
I had a tear in my eye, Rich, a tear in my eye. But myself and my son, obviously, who were lucky enough to be at the 2022 World Cup finals, we were out, and the opposite to you, Rich, because we went out early to get on the sesh to watch it, and then it got delayed. Of course, but it got delayed, so we drank even more. So by the time the football came on, we were kind of happy. And at half time, we were that nervous. We came back home and watched the second half at home. And as I said, it was pretty incredible. Now, Rich, I'm hoping to get to
Miami. Breaking news.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this.
Yeah,
today,
I know. I am. No, but it's. I was hoping that the ticket would come quite easily, but it hasn't proved to come so far. So watch this space. I should know in the next couple of hours, because I'm not going to travel without a ticket. a bit like you when you go. I mean, you went to London, didn't you? But to travel this time without a ticket all the way to if it was London, then of course I'd go. But to go all that way and then get pressured into buying a ticket for a couple of thousand, which you will do. So as long as I can get a ticket, I've got flights reserved for Friday afternoon. So fingers crossed.
Nice.
So, yeah, I know. Listen, it's.
I was so tempted. I was so tempted, but my wife will kill me.
But I looked online. Someone said to me, "Look online," and the prices of tickets they're starting about €1,700 online, Rich. So I'm not going to pay that. I don't mind paying a nice chunk of change for one bottom there. So, but 91 was my first year, Rich. So 94 I remember well because we weren't in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was awful. And then obviously 98 I remember it well because we were in the West End, and ever since then I've always gone to the local bars. Although I was there in 2000. I went in 2006, didn't I, to the World Cup. And I was there in 2022, and I was there in 2018 as well, Rich, and hopefully to be there. But just a great time. And also, there's a lot of bars over here just smashing it out of the park. They've got the big TV. I don't know if you've got it over here. They've got the big TVs there everywhere. As well, everywhere. Special mention to Bamboo Coo, which I watched at the first game, which they're doing a fantastic job, which is next to O Beach. Big Putts are doing a great job. I went to watch in Plastic the other day as well. So all these bars are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's good to see them making money out of it.
They're making money. Not just that, Rich. They're putting on a good show as well. So they're doing really well. And also special mention to the mini golf in San Antonio Bay, who did a fantastic thing for Spain last night, which my son sent me a video as well because it was his day off yesterday. So he was with all his Spanish mates. He's an England supporter, but obviously growing up and living in Spain, he's with all his mates, and I mean, it was a goddamn awful game. I watched it all, but the right result came out because I detest Portugal, mate. So very, very happy for Spain. So what would we give for an England-Spain final, Rich? That's what I'd say.
Well, it could happen.
But I was at the last one and it didn't come out right. But hey ho, let's see. But no, fantastic, and everyone's doing really well. Rich, my last piece today. An Ibiza legend has returned. A place called Bora Bora on the beach in Playa d'Embossa. Now, it was infamous because it was probably the first of the beach clubs stroke after hours. Now, what people used to do, used to go out to a club, say till 4 a.m., something like that, 4 or 5 o'clock. Then they go to Space, Ibiza. Yeah. And Space would often open at 6 a.m. So you go to Space for, till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you go straight to Bora Bora and do the carry on. Yeah. And it was famous or infamous Bora Bora, but a few years ago they repurposed the hotel. Bora Bora disappeared, but the hotel, it's the Jet Apartments, which is very famous. Basically, it's back. Bora Bora's back. They built a thing called Playa Soleil there, which is a self-contained venue. And Playa Soleil, I'm not sure if Playa Soleil have decided that Back to the Future is the best way. So Bora Bora's there now, and basically Bora Bora is one of those places where there's no VIP, Rich. You can imagine what you like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when you've been out for 24 hours or whatever. You can imagine what it was like. So, it's really exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of people being nostalgic about it back in the day, but I think it will do very well as well, Rich. So, I mean, I don't know whether it's going to recreate the original magic, but I think it's just a really good nostalgic hit, and I really wish it well. But Bora Bora is back in Ibiza, which I think is fantastic news.
All right, you say, Mark, back in the day that next door to Space was a water park. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, Agomar, yeah. It's closed down now, Rich. I actually did a TikTok story on it, which was one of my biggest TikToks because it's all abandoned. Like all these abandoned houses you see online. So it's completely abandoned, which is amazing. So Ibiza doesn't really have a water park at the moment.
I always used to laugh. They used to get, I think it was normally kiddie reps used to guide the buses to the water park in the morning, and then they used to drop the people off, and then they say, okay, so you're back here at 4 o'clock, and then they used to disappear into the toilets, get changed, and go into Space for the day.
Absolutely that, Rich. You couldn't make it up, could you? So I remember I worked with a kiddie rep called Christine, who absolutely loved Space. So she would guide them down to the water park, tell everybody so that she'd be back, here at such and such time, and go straight into Space in it, and do what you do in Space in the daytime. And I always remember, because I wasn't a massive space goer, but I always remember when we were in the water park guiding it for 20s, and you could just hear it all going off in Space. And I mean, I kind of regret not going in, Rich, back in the day now. So no, great news. And I think I'm actually going to Bossa tomorrow night, and we'll take some friends there because there's a new restaurant open there. So looking forward to experiencing that, because it's going to be busy over there, and we'll have a bit of fun in playing in Bossa, because, as I say, Bossa used to be the family resort, and now it's probably the the main youth resort on the island, Rich, really. So
it was interesting. We were talking last week about family resorts with a bit of edge, Martin. I know you got a bit of feedback from somebody who said that actually that was sounded like a really good idea. The family, bravers from the 90s or whatever that are now obviously had kids themselves, but we're still looking, for something with a bit of an edge. And can I mention it to your Marco friend, Mark, your friend in the mayor? Could be I think we should put copyright on it before we actually put it out there. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's a great idea.
I think the family tourism is definitely about Bamboo Coo. I've got another mention of Bamboo Coo because that's a beach club next door to O Beach. They do something for the kids 3 times a week, and it's absolutely packed. Rich, it's packed, and it's good because the mums and dads are there. They're enjoying themselves. They do fancy dress. There's things happening. It's a bit of a Disneyland type experience there. So they do very well, Rich, because they're probably the only people doing it as well. So doing really well on that.
Well, my old place of work, the Pirates, they have something called the Family Rave, actually, that does a very sort of similar thing. We get the kids in and the families together, and they can have a bit of a dance up and a laugh together. It's actually it does work, and I know they do it in the UK quite a lot as well now. So it could be the thing of the future. Can I just quickly talk about Real Mallorca? Not too much to tell you right now, because obviously the coach has literally just arrived. He arrived on Monday to take over the team. The team are in for all their medicals this past 2 days. And looks like quite a lot of the youth players from Mallorca B are going to get a chance, an opportunity to shine, which I'm happy to see. They will need to get a bit of experience from Segunda. Do you know what I mean? They've signed a guy called Fuentes, who was the top scorer for Cordoba last year, 14 goals. So they need to get a bit of Segunda experience. It is a very different league altogether than from La Liga. But so far, Mallorca have sold 5,873 season tickets, which is, I find the number quite low, actually.
It's quite low, isn't it? Yeah. I think there's some pushback against those prices.
There has been a lot of pushback. I don't know anybody that's happy with it, to be perfectly honest. Looks like the club are going to push forward with it. Me and my sons were talking about it the other day. The problem you've got is that if you stop it for a year, you lose all the benefits of having been a season ticket holder for this many years. I think I said this last week. My season ticket right now is about €415. If I was a brand new season ticket holder, my season ticket would cost 700.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money for a second, that is, Rich.
Yeah.
It was great to see Javier Aguirre on the line of Mexico losing the other night as well, wasn't it? Your ex-manager. So, I know he's Mexican, but I was smiling saying,
Aguirre,
Aguirre. Javier Aguirre, it was good to see him on the line, on a losing side as well. So, Rich, are we done?
So we're done, Mark.
Done for another week. What you got planned for the week, mate? Lots more work?
Yes, there's a lot going on, Mark, which is great. You know what I mean? It's head down, isn't it? Wait for September. So lots of things going on, lots of good things. 6
weeks, Rich, and then let's reconvene in 6 weeks. And someone asked me about our special Solar Eclipse edition, which, just to let you know, will be on the 5th of August. We're going to do that, Rich. 5th of August, the Solar Eclipse special. There you go. So, which is
will we be wearing the glasses as we do it?
Yeah, I think we are. It's a good idea, mate, actually.
Thank you. Very good
idea. Spacey, mate. Very spacey. Listen, Rich, great to speak as always.
And you, mate, take care.
Have a great week, buddy.
See you next week.
Make me dance.